Hello and welcome to Mailtrap videos, where we explore the world of emails. In this video, we'll explain how to perform email validation in Ruby on Rails. First, let's review how to create a simple regular expression, commonly known as a regex pattern, which is a sequence of characters defining a search pattern to validate email formats. Our pattern will only check for the existence of the @ symbol in the email address without considering other conditions for a valid email. Let's begin by indicating the start of the string, followed by any character that appears once or more. This is represented by a dot with a plus. Then we indicate the @ symbol and any character that appears once or more. Now we end our string. Now let's see how this simple pattern can be implemented in our program. Let's quickly create a new file and craft a function named isEmailValid. This function accepts an email address as an argument and checks it against our pattern. If the email matches the pattern, it returns true. If it doesn't, it returns false. Okay, let's use this method to test an email. For example, alice.bob@example.com. According to our simple pattern, it's a valid email. It has something at the front, it has an @ symbol, and it has something at the end. Now let's run our program. And there you go, our simple regex works properly, identifying this email as valid. If we remove the part after the @ symbol and repeat the process, then the email is identified as invalid. Building on our previous regex pattern, let's now add some limitations to our email validation, which will apply to both email sections. Instead of allowing any character, we now specify a range accounting for upper and lowercase characters, numbers, plus sign, underscore, dot, and minus sign. Let's add the pattern to the second part of the email and see how it behaves when we add this to our program. Alright, let's add some unconventional signs to our email. For example, the percentage and $sign here, and an exclamation mark here. And now our program recognizes the email as invalid. To further refine our pattern, let's now add some limitations to the domain name section. So let's say that we want our regex to check for letters, numbers, and a domain name that ends with a dot. Additionally, this pattern can appear more than once. In the end, we allow only letters, both upper and lowercase, and we allow this pattern to occur at least 2 times and 6 at most. Okay, let's copy this pattern over to our program and check how it works. If we remove 2 letters here and run our program, then this is flagged as an invalid email. And if we change this back to how it was, it's recognized as a valid email. Let's now add some exclamation marks that are not allowed per our regex pattern. And the email is again flagged as an invalid one. Next, we'll discuss the functionalities of active record validations, an integral part of building in Ruby on Rails. These validations provide helpers to validate the state of objects prior to their processing. In our case, these helpers can be used to create custom email validation methods and display appropriate error messages to users. Let's take the example of the format helper, which is used to verify if an email address matches a defined regex pattern. Suppose we have a user model with an email attribute. Now, to validate the format of the email attribute, we want to add a validation helper to the model. If the email attribute begins with some characters, includes an @ sign, and ends with additional characters, we'll consider it a valid email address. Should it fail this validation, we'll display an invalid email message to the user. We'll also implement a uniqueness validation to prevent multiple users with the same email in our system. And we'll validate the length of the email, ensuring it falls within the range of 4 to 254 characters. Alright, demonstration time. Let's head to the console and create a user with an incorrect email format. As you can see, the system returns the transaction, telling us that the user wasn't created due to the failed validation. We can examine the errors and see that our email attribute triggered an error message. Now let's try again with a valid email. And this time, the system commits the transaction, showing that our validation worked correctly. Running a check on all users, we see that our new user has been successfully saved in the database. We also enabled a uniqueness validation. So if we try to create another user with the same email, the operation won't be successful. The same applies when we attempt to create a user with an email less than 4 characters long. Our length validation catches this and prevents the transaction. Therefore, through active record validations, we ensure the integrity of our data by enforcing appropriate checks on user input. To validate email addresses, we can also use various Ruby gems. A straightforward one is the email_validator gem. To begin this, we add this gem to our gem file. After saving the changes, we exit the console and run the bundle install command to install the new gem. We can now incorporate it into our model, and instead of manually specifying a regular expression for email validation, we just need to use the validates method and indicate that we want the email field attribute to be a valid email. Now that we've configured the email validator gem for our application, let's see it in action. To do this, we'll use the console and create a new user with a string that clearly isn't an email. Unsurprisingly, the system doesn't create the user and instead signals that the email attribute is invalid. Since we didn't specify a custom error message, the system's default email is invalid message is used. A string without an @sign or a domain is invalid, and if we add both of the elements, it's recognized as valid. If we have a string structured like an email, even with a non-existent domain, it passes the validation. This highlights the gem's simplicity, as it primarily looks for the @ symbol with some characters preceding and following it. The TrueMail gem is another useful tool for email validation. It offers more comprehensive validation techniques than the email validator gem, including the capability to validate emails using Regex, SMTP, and DNS. To use TrueMail, we first add it to our gem file and run bundle install. We also need to set up minimal configuration according to its documentation. For this, we need to specify a verifier email, which is used for SMTP validation. We could set this up in an initializer file under the config initializer directory. In our example, we'll use verifier@example.com, but since we're using regex validation, the actual address doesn't matter much, but it's still required for the config file to work properly. Let's now move to the console to see TrueMail in action. We test an email, alice@bob.example.com, with a regex pattern, which successfully validates. Moreover, TrueMail provides additional information about the validated email, including the domain and mail servers. We can also use the valid helper method to return a true or false value for validation. For instance, a string that isn't structured like an email will return false, and if there is one that is structured like an email, it returns a valid message. An interesting feature that TrueMail also comes with is its own default regex pattern for email validation, but you can provide your own regex to override this if desired. This is especially useful if you have specific requirements for the email format. And just like that, you can start validating emails in Ruby on Rails. We at Mailtrap hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by Mailtrap, an email delivery platform to test, send, and control your email infrastructure in one place. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel for more tutorials like this one. And we'll see you in our next one.